I came home early and overheard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me. I left without a word, and now she's desperately trying to find me, but I've blocked her everywhere. I'm a 38-year-old man, and I just discovered that my 36-year-old girlfriend of 5 years has been cheating on me, and I found out in the worst way. A little about me: I've never been married and I don't have kids. It's not that I don't want them, it just hasn't happened yet. Now to the story. Last Friday, I left for a weekend trip with the guys at a buddy's lake cabin. It's a routine trip: fishing, drinking games, just some good fun. We usually do this every few months for a break. I typically stay the whole weekend and head straight to work on Monday. However, this time, I realized I left my laptop at home. So, around 4 p.m., I decided to go back, figuring I'd be home by 6 p.m. I thought Rachel wouldn't have eaten yet, so I ordered from our favorite Italian place, picked it up, and headed home. Everything seemed normal when I walked in. I heard Rachel laughing in the kitchen. I thought I'd surprise her, but as I got closer, I overheard her phone conversation, and my world fell apart. I assumed she was talking to her sister or a friend. The conversation went something like this. "Last night was amazing. He was such a considerate lover." Pause. "I'm telling you, I've never experienced anything like it." Pause. "We met on Tinder, and he took me out last night. By the time we got through the door, we barely made it to the sofa." Pause. "Oh God, big, like twice as big as insert my name." Pause. "I'll definitely be taking him for a test drive again." After hearing that, I dropped the food on the floor. Rachel heard the noise, turned around and saw me, tears already welling up in my eyes. She quickly hung up and tried to approach me, but I pushed her away, went up to the office, grabbed my laptop, and left. Rachel has been frantically texting and calling for the past 4 days, but I haven't responded once. I'm staying in a motel a couple of towns over, so I doubt she'll find me. My friends and mom have called, as Rachel's been desperately trying to locate me. But I've assured them that I'm okay and there's no need to worry. My life was shattered by a single phone call. I truly thought she was the one I'd spend my life with. Being an only child, my mom often reminds me she wants grandkids. I had planned to propose this year on the 4th of July, our 6-year anniversary. I already have the ring, and my buddy and his wife, who set us up and host our 4th of July cookouts, were in on the plan. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Infidelity is incredibly painful, and the betrayal cuts deep, especially when you've invested so much in the relationship. It's understandable to feel broken right now, but remember, you don't owe her anything, not even a chance to explain herself. She showed you exactly who she is during that phone call, and you deserve someone who values and respects you. It's normal to wonder if you should hear her out, but from what you've shared, it doesn't seem like there's anything she could say that would make you feel better. She was bragging about cheating, not just making a mistake in the heat of the moment. Hearing her try to justify or apologize might only hurt you more. You've already heard enough. You know who she is now, and that's all you need to know. If you need closure, it has to come from within, not from her. Arrange for a friend to collect your things so you don't have to face her again. As tempting as it might be, don't get pulled into any conversations with her or mutual friends trying to explain her side. Consider making a social media post to make it clear what happened. It might help you move on, and it also serves as a firm line in the sand. It's hard, but you need to protect yourself from further harm. Don't try to fix or understand what can't be fixed. She made her choices, and now it's time for you to make yours, to focus on healing and moving forward. You deserve someone who would never put you in this position. Update 1. Hello, everyone. First off, I want to thank you all for your kind words. This week has been incredibly stressful, and while I didn't feel up to replying to everyone, I want you to know that I read every comment and message. Your words helped me get through the week, even if just a little bit. This whole situation has been devastating, but each of you brightened my day, and I truly appreciate it. Now, on to the most recent update. Last Friday night, after my buddies arrived at the hotel, I told them everything I overheard on that phone call. They were stunned, to say the least. They asked if I'd seen any signs of this before, but honestly, I hadn't. I also told my friend that the proposal was off, and given the circumstances, he completely understood. I had all my buddies turn off their location tracking when they left their homes in case their significant others were checking, especially since Rachel is close with one of the wives, and I didn't want to risk anything getting back to her. That night, we spent our time at the hotel bar, and I spiraled pretty hard. Shot after shot, it got messy. My buddies were getting calls all night from their partners asking where they were, but they stood firm and backed me up, just saying we were safe and not to worry. One of them got a call from his wife asking to speak to me, assuming she knew where we were. She kept saying Rachel was worried and just wanted me to come home. I told my friend to handle it and that I'd explain everything to them another time. I wasn't ready to face that conversation yet. I spent most of that night flirting with the bartender and a couple of women who were traveling for work. I'm not proud of it, but I was spiraling. The next day, I thanked my friends for sticking with me and they headed back home. This week, I asked one of my buddies to check on the house we were renting since it was on his way to work. He starts after both Rachel and I would typically leave, so I figured it was safe. He told me Rachel had taken Monday and Tuesday off, but returned to work on Wednesday. As soon as he confirmed she was gone, I went to the house and started packing my things. The house was a mess. Dishes piled in the sink, clothes scattered everywhere, and the trash was overflowing with takeout containers. It took me about 3.5 hours to pack everything. Before leaving, I cleaned up the place as a final gesture, which in hindsight feels bittersweet. That afternoon and evening, I was bombarded with calls and texts from Rachel after she realized I'd been home and cleared out my stuff. For now, I'm staying at my mom's place until I find somewhere to live this fall. I spoke with the landlord, but without Rachel's signature, he won't remove me from the lease, so I'm stuck paying my half until October. My mom has graciously offered to let me stay until then, and I'll look for a new place once the lease is up. So here I am, a 38-year-old man moving back in with his mom. Just how wonderfully life has treated me lately. I finally contacted Rachel on Thursday and told her we could meet up at a local bar and grill downtown on Friday evening. I made it clear that one of my buddies would be there to make sure everything stayed civil. She complained for a bit, insisting she wanted me to come home so we could talk things out and move past this. But I told her if she wanted to see me, this was the only way it was going to happen. Eventually, she agreed. Friday night, Rachel showed up after my buddy and I had been there for about an hour. I'd already eaten and taken a couple of shots of whiskey to steady my nerves. As soon as we sat down, she tried making small talk, asking how I was and all that. I shut it down immediately. I told her I had questions and I wanted answers. Her eyes welled up with tears as I asked how long this had been going on. She swore this was the first and only time, but I called her out on the lies. I made it clear we were never getting back together, so she might as well just tell me the truth so I could get my closure and move on. After sticking to her story for a few minutes, she finally cracked, just as many of you predicted. She confessed that every time I went on those trips over the past 2 years, she assumed I was going to cheat on her, so she decided to have her own fun too. That set me off. I told her that she was just using that as a pathetic excuse to sleep around. When I asked who she was talking to on the phone that day, she clammed up and refused to give me an answer. I asked Rachel if they used condoms, and she said sometimes. I told her she was lucky I already got an STD test and came back clean, so she doesn't have to worry unless her most recent partner didn't use protection. Before I left, I dropped one last bomb. I told her about my plans for the July 4th proposal. I even showed her the ring and explained that I was going to propose at our friend's party because that's where we first met. That's when she completely broke down, crying and begging for another chance. I told her that despite everything, I would always love her. But we were over. Since then, she's been messaging me nonstop, but I'm planning to block her soon. So now here I am, sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings, drinking beer and watching the fight, hoping poor EA wins, but I'm not optimistic. My life feels like a train wreck right now. Thanks to everyone for listening. I'm not sure if I'll update again because I don't plan on speaking to Rachel anymore. Comments. CC, Falcon 663. I knew she was going to say it was only once. They always do. And of course, the classic cheater move. Every time I went on those trips for the past 2 years, she thought I was going to cheat on her, so she was having her fun too. Blame shifting at its finest. It's not your fault, OP. Sorry the landlord won't let you off the lease, but at least you've got your mom's place for now. It's not ideal, but it's temporary. It's 100% her loss. She was about to become someone's wife, and she blew it. CC Falcon 663 continued. A good man chose her, wanted her, and she threw it all away for some fun. Now it's time to focus on yourself and your healing. Go easy on the alcohol and be careful. You're going to be okay. Flyus. OP, I'm glad you're clean, but it's sad she used the excuse that she thought you'd cheat on your trips to justify her actions. It's also shady she wouldn't tell you who she was talking to. I bet it's someone in your inner circle, maybe one of the wives of your buddies. She might be protecting a friend who's also involved, which would cause more drama. You should warn your buddies about this possibility. From how she acted at the restaurant, she showed no real remorse, just trickle-truthing you. If she truly regretted it, she would have confessed long before you showed her the ring. She only realized what she threw away when she saw the proposal plan and the ring. OP, now's the time to put the bottle down and start focusing on your healing journey. You've got this. And if you find out who was on the other end of that call, please update us. Update 2. Hey there, fellow Redditors. I just want to thank each of you for the kind words. It means a lot to me. A few things have happened in the last day, so I figured I'd fill you in. Nothing too crazy, but here's the latest. Rachel is no longer invited to the 4th of July cookout, so I don't have to worry about any confrontation with her. That's one less stress on my plate. If you remember in my last post, while we were at the bar, one of the wives tried to talk to me. She is actually the wife who hosts the 4th of July cookout. Apparently, Rachel told her that she had only cheated once and that it was a huge mistake, which is why she tried to get me to talk things out with Rachel. When I spoke to her this past Tuesday, I told her the full truth. She immediately called Rachel, who confirmed my version of events. She was livid and started yelling at Rachel, telling her that it would be best if she didn't show up to the 4th of July event because I was going to be there, and what she did to me was vile and disgusting. She then turned to me, asking for my forgiveness and saying she had no idea. I assured her that none of this was her fault and that she had nothing to apologize for. We were both deceived by someone we trusted. As for who Rachel was on the phone with, my best guess is that it was her sister. The two wives who were friends with her have been adamant that they had no idea Rachel was cheating. They mentioned that on Saturday evenings while we were away, they would have girls' nights at my house until about 11 p.m., drinking wine and talking about typical stuff. Even the wife who isn't particularly close to Rachel but participated in these get-togethers confirmed the story. Another reason I suspect her sister is that I've tried reaching out to her 3 times, and I haven't received any response. No texts, no calls, nothing. On top of that, Rachel's mother called me, saying her sister is upset about the breakup and asking if there's anything they can do to change my mind. But I told her that wasn't going to happen. I went back to work on Monday after taking the week off, so I'm back to my normal routine now. No more booze for the foreseeable future. My liver will definitely thank me for that. This community has been incredibly supportive, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your kindness and advice. I don't know if I'll update this account again, as it seems this situation has reached its conclusion. Rachel is blocked on all platforms, so she currently has no way to contact me. The cookout host mentioned that Rachel isn't doing well, but that's just how it goes. I'm not doing great either, but I'm moving on and putting this all behind me. Thanks again, everyone. You all rock. Story 2. I worked hard for my wife, took care of our kid, and handled all the chores while she came home late every day. So I followed her and discovered she was cheating on me. My wife and I were married for 4 years. We first met at a football stadium. I had gone out with some friends to support my football team, and she was there with her family. During the game, she tried to take a picture, and since I was sitting a row away, I ended up in the background of her shot. I smiled at her as she took the photo, not knowing it would lead to anything. We became friends after that. She was so lovely and polite, especially after she saw me grinning from ear to ear in the pictures. She asked if she could send me the pictures, and it was hilarious because I thought she'd be upset that I ruined her moment. Instead, we became friends from there. We exchanged contacts and followed each other on Facebook. After meeting, we didn't talk much, but she reached out again through Facebook and we started chatting. What began with random questions gradually moved to more personal topics. I really liked her energy. She was always fun to talk to, whether on the phone or through messages. After weeks of getting to know each other, I asked her out on a date, and she accepted. Our first date went so smoothly that it led to more dates, eventually developing into a relationship. I fell in love with her. After a painful previous relationship, I was scared of falling in love again, which is why I buried myself in work and tried to shut out any potential relationships. But with her, it was different. She made me feel safe and assured. I loved her deeply, and my mind was at ease with her. Eventually, we got married. My wife always wanted a child, so we had one during the first year of our marriage. She was already 2 months pregnant by the time we got married, and although I hadn't planned on having a child so soon, I agreed because of her excitement. When our daughter was born, I was overjoyed. Her presence brightened my world and motivated me to work harder and be a better father and husband. As she grew older, I was able to spend more time with her, working from home and taking her to daycare and back. My wife was a nurse, so the only time she had with our daughter was on her days off or when she was home. Because I worked from home, I took care of the house, cleaned, did the laundry, and cooked on some days. I did this to ease the burden on my wife and to maintain a neat home. I knew she was always exhausted when she came home, and with the limited time she had to rest, cleaning, grocery shopping, and cooking were nearly impossible. So I did everything I could to make our lives easier. For the first 3 years of our marriage, everything was great. We were both happy, had minor couple fights that never lasted more than a day, and were excellent parents to our daughter, doing everything we could to raise her well. However, things started to change in the 4th year of our marriage. It began with my wife not coming home when she was supposed to. For example, if she worked the afternoon shift and was expected home in the evening, she would sometimes not return until the following day, claiming she was covering for a sick colleague or working overtime. At first I understood her reasons, but it soon became a pattern. I couldn't take it anymore. The situation was becoming more of a habit than an excuse, and it was affecting our relationship. Our daughter began to miss her mother, and I had to come up with numerous excuses for why she wasn't home. Additionally, our intimacy suffered drastically. She no longer wanted me to touch her, and when I tried, she would either complain about being tired or say she wasn't in the mood. This went on for weeks and eventually months. It got so bad that I grew afraid for our marriage, so I signed us up for marriage counseling. Unfortunately, she never attended a single appointment. As time went on, our relationship continued to deteriorate. I confided in a close friend who suggested that my wife might be seeing someone or was tired of our marriage. At first, these ideas didn't make sense to me. I trusted my wife deeply and couldn't imagine her cheating on me. To illustrate my trust, I argued with my friend, insisting that my wife wouldn't cheat and that she was simply working hard to provide our daughter with a good future. I also considered the possibility that she might be tired of our marriage. I tried to discuss this with her, but whenever I brought it up, her responses were either cold or disinterested. Despite numerous attempts to resolve our issues, the thought of her seeing someone else started to weigh heavily on my mind in the preceding months. There were many changes with her. Previously, she'd go grocery shopping in simple clothes, but now she was more conscious of her appearance, even combining 2 or 3 perfumes for a quick trip to the store. I didn't think much of it at first because I'd always complained about how she dressed outside the house. Her new attention to her appearance seemed like a positive change, something I had often criticized her for, and I was glad she was finally listening. One day, while my wife was playing with our daughter in the living room, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner. I heard her phone ring, and instead of answering the call in the living room as usual, she rushed outside. Instantly, I knew something was off. In the 2 years we dated and over 4 years of marriage, she had never taken a call outside, regardless of its importance. Curiosity got the better of me, so I left what I was doing and followed her, though I stayed inside the house and just listened through the open door. When she came back inside, she acted normal, played with our daughter for a bit, and then asked about the groceries we needed. I told her what we needed, and she made a list. Afterward, she said she'd go to the store to pick them up since she wasn't doing anything else at the moment. I didn't need a psychic to know something was off. Her body language said it all. I watched her go into our room to shower, change, and put on light makeup for grocery shopping. We hadn't shared the same bond or communicated like we used to in months, but there she was, excited and all dressed up for a simple trip to the store. As soon as she left, I asked my closest neighbor if his oldest daughter could help watch our daughter for a few minutes, and he agreed. It was a relief. Without wasting any time, I drove to the grocery store where she was headed. Upon arriving, I waited for a bit, and just as I was about to step out of my car to confirm if she was actually shopping, I saw my wife walking out of the store with a man. She had her arm around his waist, and his hands were draped over her shoulder. It was evening, and the store was well lit. I saw them through the glass, and in a fit of rage, I charged inside before they even stepped out. My wife was so shocked to see me that she didn't know what to do or say. I didn't confront her because deep down I knew our marriage was over. Instead, I focused on her affair partner, yelling at him and causing a scene. People gathered around, taking videos and photographs, but I didn't care. I was just consumed by anger. In the end, the store manager found out about the affair and fired him. As for my wife, she came home that night, begging and crying. But I was too hurt to forgive her. She admitted she thought she could get away with it and returned to me, which only deepened my pain. That same night, I kicked her out of the house, and she ended up staying at a friend's place. Unbeknownst to me, she had been seeing him for over 6 months, all while spinning stories about covering for him at work. She had been spending nights with him while I cared for our daughter alone. We did divorce, as I couldn't forgive or forget her betrayal while I was doing my best to be a good husband and father. Thankfully, I won custody of our daughter, largely because she was rarely around. It's been over a year, and the pain and disappointment still linger. My daughter is my top priority now, and I'm committed to being a good father and teaching her the value of faithfulness in any relationship she may have in the future.